What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Kamen Riders. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast, and we're here to talk about Kamen Rider Gotchard, Episode 7. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. Hi, Toby.
Josh, this week, when I started watching Episode 7, for whatever reason, the way it started made me feel like I missed an episode. And I had a real weird moment of panic after I watched it, because I usually watch it right before we start talking. And I was trying to think to myself, what would I do if I accidentally watched the wrong episode?
Uh-huh.
And I didn't really have an answer. Like, I wasn't sure if I was like almost like embarrassed to tell your parent like I fucked up.
I was nervous.
I'd be like, I was nervous. I was like, if I had to say, like, Josh, I watched the wrong thing. Or if you start like talking about something, and then if I was like, I didn't see this at all, would I just have to lie and just pretend I saw it and try to like go along with the joke, as we said I should try to do sometime, or try to do together? Or I didn't know what to do, so I feel good. Episode 7.
I'm glad you watched the right episode. I'm glad that I didn't have to play mean parent on you and tell you that I was disappointed, not mad. I love the idea of you being like, yeah, I totally also liked it when that thing happened that you just said. Yeah.
Well, like,
just completely didn't watch it.
Because like there's a new item that just shows up, or
smartphone.
Yeah. So
yeah.
He like, I guess we'll call this a little early review, but smartphone shows up and he's doing stuff with it. And then I was like, I don't remember him getting a phone though. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure last week was week 6 or episode 6. So I kept watching, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right though. Like, something feels off about this, and I don't like it. So at least it all worked out.
Yeah, I had the exact same experience with smartphone, where I'm like, did I miss a plot point where he got this last time? And I was very confused up to the point where they showed the phone very closely. Then I remembered, oh, this is like that time that Geets randomly called down his spider phone, and he used it for like half a second and then like threw it away so that they could show the toy off and then sell it. I was like, oh, it's just that. They just need to show the toy off, and this was the quick way of them showing the toy off. Also, speaking of smartphone, did you notice that it has like app icons like it's an iPhone, but the one right in the middle is a tie? He's wearing a tie.
I didn't notice enough, but that's hilarious. Like, all I could think of is the slow building Geets overlap, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. It did make me want to theme my own phone to look like the screen of smartphone with a tie in my center app and stuff. I got to figure that out. I got to get a really good screen grab.
It has a fantastic fake Safari icon. And then the tie's right next to it.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check all that out. But it's very, very funny, very cool. It doesn't seem like the phone does much either. Like, it just like he talks to it and he like asks it for help, right? But like there's not a lot of gimmick with it. Like
no, it doesn't turn into a spider like the last one.
Which is definitely not as cool. Yeah, I was also super confused, but just powered through, and it all mostly made sense. They're blazing new trails here with this episode, Joe, because this was also a 2-parter, the beginning of a 2-parter, which is new for Gotchard as well.
Don't worry, the smartphone only costs $40, but it comes with its Kemi cards. I guess that's a deal.
So speaking of buying things from Japan that we shouldn't be doing, let me tell you and the people about a weird Japanese toy obsession that I have. I don't know if I've shared this with you before, Toby, but I am into trains in general as a concept. I think trains are very fun. Specifically, I like Japanese trains. Like, I like the Shinkansen, the bullet trains and stuff. And they make these toys in Japan that are like plastic rail or pla rail is what they're called.
Okay.
And they're made for kids. But they're these little toy trains that are motorized. You put a battery in them, you turn them on, and they go. And they come on this like cute little blue track, and you can buy all kinds of trains modeled after real world trains. So like, I have one from the Yamanote line, which is very cool. and you lay out your track, and you can buy little stations for the trains to go through, and like little things where you can make the train stop and then start back with a lever, all kinds of fun stuff. They're super cool. They're cheap little toys. I have ordered several of them straight from Japan because you can't really get them here very, very much. But because they're big giant packages, getting them shipped from Japan is super expensive.
I can
so
only
like,
imagine.
so like you're just getting this like box that should be like a box of like $60 worth of toys that ends up being like $200 because you had to ship it from Japan. But anyway, so that's my fun obsession. So I'm saying that because I just had the trains out to play with them this past weekend, and was
Wait,
thinking,
define playing with them. Like
playing with them was me and my daughter getting them out and setting up the train track, and her getting frustrated with me because I wanted to very meticulously lay out a train line, and she wanted to just more like make them go around and shove them off the tracks and that
smash
kind
them
of
in each other.
stuff. So I wanted to be more of a train conductor, and she wanted to be more of a train I don't know, god.
Lord of the Trains.
Yeah, but no, we were playing them together because I was telling her about this train collection that I had. So we decided to get the trains out and clear off the dining room table completely and set up the train track and stuff. It was fun. She enjoyed seeing the trains go around. But I was looking at this, my collection of trains, thinking like, I should get another train. So I was looking again at the Japanese trains and the shipping, and really just like doing that hard, chin scratch of like, can I justify the shipping cost? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't know. So just eyeballing. They have trains now that are called a real class, because I think they've realized that there are certain adults that are weird like me that are into these types of trains. So they make ones that are like a little bit nicer and like have like lights and stuff. So I'm looking at getting some real class trains now.
Are you gonna set up like a diorama for all the trains? Because like when I was growing up, my dad had a huge train set in the basement of his old house,
Nice.
and it was
Okay.
one of my favorite things. Because like obviously the rule is don't make them go too fast or they fly off the thing.
Yeah.
But he had the fake mountains. He put down his own the sprinkle soddy grass stuff. Like he had a whole
Nice.
thing going on. And I always wanted to do that with my Legos, but there's too many. I have way too many now, and there's not enough room for that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
But trains seem more universally accepted, where it's easier to put a little train track and a little train world out there.
It is. Yeah. I love like train diorama setups. One time there was a train kind of convention that came to my town that I went to just to mainly look at things, which just was super fun. Um, so I don't have a train setup. Kind of the nice thing about these toy trains is because they're toys and it's just snap together track, you can get them out, play with them for an afternoon, and then put them all away. Like they don't take up like permanent space in your house.
Gotcha.
However, downstairs I do have a large slot car track setup, which is like it's basically it's a big L shape that is two giant tables worth,
Nice.
and I'm in the process. The goal there, basically, I've devised what is my permanent layout, and that's going to be like the big put scenery on, put grass on, put like hills and stuff like that kind of a thing. So that's the goal there. I'd started that very briefly at our old house, and then had to like tear it all down to move. So in the new house now, I've like completely reconfigured the track layout, which means that a lot of the scenery pieces I'd made for the last track don't fit anymore because they were conformed to the track and stuff. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's the goal for that. So it's not trains, it's race cars, but it's the exact same idea of just like a permanent setup on tables in my house that's gonna have all of the all the diorama, all the mini stuff set up. So that's that side of the hobby for me. So the train stuff is more just like toys I can get out and play with once in a while. But yeah, I've always loved the same thing. I'm just like getting to see the like miniature like people and buildings and stuff. Those are always like super, super fun.
There was a place near my house, like an hour away ish, when I was growing up. Like I was probably up until I was mid-30s. The last time I went there was probably I was 10. It was called Roadside America. It's long gone now. It was probably a football field size building, maybe a little bit smaller, but the whole thing was one giant train set. And they had
Holy
enough
crap.
things where like there was, I think, like 40 buttons, and basically you just walk in a slow circle around the outside of the track. You can press a button at every, I'm gonna call it station, and it would make something move on the train track. Like it would either make a train move, it would make the lumber mill have like the little guys saw lumber, or it'd have like windmill fans go if you press the button. And it was my
Nice.
absolute favorite thing. And I remembered loving it as a kid. So I took people with me to go see it recently as an adult. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to play as an adult. Maybe it was stupid. I just never realized it, but it was just as good as an adult as it was when I was a little
Nice.
kid.
Love it.
And now it's closed. So I was very sad that it closed, but I got to see it one last time as a taking way too many pictures adult person. So I have like thousands of pictures of my last time there at least. So it feels a little bit better.
Nice. I'm glad you got to go. Yeah. I I don't do it as much anymore, but at some point, like in the middle of the pandemic, I got very deep into watching YouTube videos of people's train layouts and stuff like that. And I'll dabble in them occasionally now. But the fun thing about the good train layouts that people do, because you picture it in your mind where it's just like, if you think about model trains, it's just like, well, I put the trains on the track and I turn them on and they just go around in a circle, right? It's not really like interactive, but people will like come up with scenarios for their train tracks and will have like offlines and stuff like that where they have to basically they'll set it up like they're actually working the trains, where that'll be like, oh, we have to go from this industry, pick up 2 cars worth of things, take it over to this industry, drop those off, pick up 3 more, take it back over to this third place. And like they'll do that where they have to like do all of the like maneuvering cars around to get the right ones hooked up and then pull them to the right place and then turn your train around and back them in and that kind of stuff, which is that's the interesting thing to like watch, which is the most nerdy thing that you can imagine, but is really, really interesting to see people go through all of these like super complicated maneuvers with their little toy trains.
Well, that's funny too, because there's I'm gonna call them like a tier of people where any of the simulator games, they take them hardcore serious.
Yeah.
And like I had a friend when I was growing up, so this would have been like mid 90s, who was super into like Microsoft Flight Simulator, like the OG there's barely graphics here thing.
Heck yeah.
But he taught me how to play it, and we did it in a way where he was like, we can't leave the airport until you call in the commands properly and type in the stuff like you're actually calling into the air tower, the air tower
Nice.
controller, and like stuff like that. So even like with your train story, like there's people that play like the whatever the trucking sim is, where you drive like the semi across the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and the only thing that's super into those things like that, I think it's so awesome to be like that diehard about it. I just don't think I could do it.
Yeah. That's exactly where I'm at too. Like, it's fun to watch. Like, it wouldn't be fun, I don't think, for me to execute those things, but to like briefly take a tour in someone's strong passion about these things is very fun. Like, yeah, watching this guy like explain his complicated system and how he deals cards out to figure out like what operations he's doing on his train that day and stuff is really interesting. I wouldn't want to do that myself, like create that system myself, but like, yeah, I love diving into things that people are like insanely passionate about and have come up with like crazy complicated things. It's true about games and stuff too, right? Like video games, like with the flight sim, like you mentioned, or like it's fun to like again like tour in games like Destiny, which is one where it's like I'm never going to be super hardcore in this, but it's really fun to talk to like my one friend who is intensely into Destiny and can tell me all about the hoops you have to jump through to get the raid completed and that kind of stuff. Like, it's interesting to hear about.
I had
But
my one old coworker. He was older, like 10 years older than me. So he had kids that were teenage age, and one, if not both, were hardcore into Farming Simulator, to the
okay.
extent that they found a Discord that ran tournaments that you'd play Farming Simulator for a week. You couldn't cheat. Yeah, I think you only could do set times during the day where everyone played their own
Okay.
separate thing. But you had to run your own farm for a week, and then they would compare stats and numbers and however the hell that game works. but they were so into Farming Simulator specifically that they found a place that did tournaments for it.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Do you have you ever gotten into anything that deeply that is relatively obscure?
And like that was just really good at like a simulator thing, or like
Just anything, yeah. Like, have you ever gotten to a point with with something that like isn't very mainstream that you're like joining discords for it, or like or that level of dedication to a thing?
gambling, I guess.
Yeah, gambling probably counts for you for sure. Yeah,
That'd
you're
probably
because
be
you're.
about it.
Are you in gambling discords?
I am.
What happens in gambling discords?
It's mostly people offering up picks for the day, or like, hey, what do you guys think about this? Is this a good thing?
Okay.
And then if a lot of times everyone comes to a consensus on a bet, there's a lot of live chatting about like happiness or sadness as a game goes on.
Okay, I like that. That's fun.
So it's basically like if we use football. It's basically like watching a football game with your friends, but just online. And then we take it a step past that because people have money on it and they're way more invested than just watching a game with your friends online.
Are there ever a thing are there ever points where like a couple people are the dissenters and they're like celebrating while everyone else is sad and losing?
Of course, like, and even with my friends, when we don't agree on things, I'm so mellow about a lot of this stuff in general. Where like, if all three of my friends, I have like four, counting me, there's four hardcore degenerates in my friend group. If the other three don't agree with me, I'll still be polite enough to be like, I hope you guys win.
That's
Because like
nice.
I don't want to root against three of my friends, but they never give me the same respect back.
Never
Because
do.
then like if my team starts losing, like of course the three of them are happy and bullshitting over text, like, oh, home run, oh, touchdown, whatever. And I'm like, I understand why you guys are doing it, but like surely you realize this doesn't feel good. And if it was the other way around, like I'm just taking pot shots at three of my friends, like, yep, look who's winning, assholes. Hope this feels good.
Oh man, that's great. I wouldn't rub it in your face if I feel like I would do it on accident. That's what I would do. But I wouldn't do it knowingly.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. um let's jump into some talk about Kamen Rider again. We opened the episode with a little bit of Kamen Rider talk there, talking about Smartphone, which was unheard of for you and I. On topic from the jump there. That was crazy. Good thing we talked about
Yeah, you
trains
gotta
for a long
swerve it. You
time.
gotta swerve it.
Let's jump into some emails. We have an email this week coming in from our friend Shade. Shade has a lot of things to tell us. Says, "Hey guys, remember when I said I'll return with interesting stuff happens? Well, a lot of interesting stuff happened." So first, Shade sends over some pictures from the Kamen Rider X-Aid character book, which are just like some funny like. There's a T pose from Taiga, which is Kamen Rider Snipe, where he's forming the T for the name Taiga, which is very silly. Lots of like push-ups and heroes forming an H with his body, and just goofy poses, which is very fun. And then Shade links us some footage from Ultraman appearing at New York Comic Con, and I shared that with you. What are your thoughts on Ultraman Blazar having a live fight at New York Comic Con?
It's amazing. It's
It's
so
so good.
like it's one of those things where I I think I would enjoy watching it and also feel weird secondhand embarrassment of like we're in this tiny ass room. You guys are in real costumes on this shitty 3-foot stage, pretending to fight even more so than usual and just like screwing around. I don't know. Like I think it's cool that they do it. I just feel like I would feel weird watching it in person.
Yeah, if you listen to it like with audio, it's very fun because everybody in the audience is definitely on board with it because they're all going like ooh ah like as things are happening, which is so much fun. But yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's kind of like wrestling, right? Where it's goofy if you think about it, but then when you're there with a bunch of people who are also um who are also into it like you are, you can all sort of like suspend disbelief together and be like very revelatory in the fact that you're watching this goofy silly thing. I loved how clearly ridiculous it all looked, but how fun it was. You know what? It reminded me of
Big
Kaiju
battle.
Big Battel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Battle. Which yeah, if people aren't aware, it was a wrestling promotion that was done by the Chikara people, where essentially it was this: people would dress up as kaiju or just in funny costumes, and they would have wrestling matches in those costumes, and it was as ridiculous as you'd see here and more. And
Well, like I think the best part of those was they used to make shitty cardboard buildings to put in the middle of the ring,
right,
so that the kaiju would destroy the city during the match.
that's right. I'd forgotten about that part of
That,
it.
that's
Yeah.
like that's what makes it. That's what actually made it clutch to me, and not just like goofy wrestling costumes. Like they made a fake city to destroy all the time.
Totally. Yeah. Um, yeah, super fun. Just like ridiculous. This felt like it was in that same vein. So, very cool. Thank you for sharing with that Shade. Then Shade has a very, I'm going to say, controversial opinion here, Toby. So strap in.
I'm ready.
We
I'm ready to
looked
yell.
at in the Discord recently the Disney Imagination Belt. We knew it was coming. A video was released, basically running through all the different things you can do with it, putting all the different keys in, and seeing the animation. So in our Discord, I pointed out that like, oh, it's kind of impressive. Like, there's just an LCD screen on this belt, which is where you see all the animations, and there's lots of stuff it's doing with the various keys and various characters, and like, it's pretty complicated. And we would never get a mainline Kamen Rider belt that has just an LCD screen because that's way too expensive. So you're only going to see it in a product like this. I thought it was neat that it had one. Shade disagrees. Shade says the Disney Imagination Belt was finally shown off on Bandai's channel, and honestly, it's kind of shitty. Like, really, that much money for a bunch of keys and a digital screen showing TikTok edits of Disney character PNGs? I do not understand who on earth would ever want this, minus the millionaire collectors. Every Rider Belt ever looks miles more entertaining than this.
That's hilarious.
Shade, not on board.
Shade's not on board. There's probably about, I'll say, a couple million Disney adults. There's probably enough crossover where they will respectfully disagree and buy enough of them where they'll make money and not worry about it.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't care about like the Disney part, didn't really scratch any itches for me, but I did like that like they put the key in the side and then the part of the key that goes in the driver shows up on the screen. I thought that was really cool. But I guess yeah, like if you aren't into the screen gimmick, it really is like the front of it flips open and then the screen is the gimmick. Like there is nothing else that it does. But I mean, like a normal Rider belt just has like one gimmick built in, right? Like it's like
it talks. The gimmick is it talks.
yeah, it talks. Maybe it spins once. Like it's like they're not that complicated. So like this one has, it's talking and animating. I don't know. That seems kind of cool. It is expensive. I would never buy that thing, but but it was cool to look at it. And then another one that Shade sends along is Chinese Kamen Rider fans made a short fan film about Gotchard, and they made a like custom Gotchard suit. So I watched that a little bit. It's very short, but like impressive like craftsmanship, I'll say, because honestly, if I showed you a screenshot from this and a screenshot from Gotchard, like I don't know if you'd really be able to tell a difference like at first glance. Like they're very close, which is super impressive.
That's cool then. If it looks that on brand, we'll call it.
Yeah, and like their monster is also pretty cool as well. Here, I'll send you a link. You can look at it while we are moving on. But like the dedication is quite impressive there.
Hey, I know Billy.
Billy, everyone's favorite video website that isn't in our country.
All my favorite J bands have a shitload of extra concerts on here. So
Oh, really?
I'm actually like, I'm super hyper aware of this site. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, fake Gotchard looks pretty damn good.
Pretty good. Like you can tell like around the neck, it's a little bit different, but like
And
for
the eye lenses look cheaper.
yeah.
But I mean, as a general thing, like this looks extremely spot on to what you would see. I feel
Like
like
for cosplay, right? Like exactly. Like it's pretty crazy. Shade also sends along a Waluigi AI cover of Kemi story,
oh no.
which is exactly what you would think it is. It sounds like
Blah.
Waluigi. Yeah, those AI voices are getting out of hand. I'll say. I think we're very close to those just being very dangerous. I went and looked up the AI that made the Waluigi here because I was curious, and you can just feed it if you sign up for like a premium account, of course, on that website. You can just feed it YouTube videos and train it on any voice that you want. So you could just go like recreate a YouTuber, which is scary.
That's awesome. That's what we need.
We could just make AI Toby and Josh, and then
That
we
see,
would
this sounds like a fantastic idea.
yeah, we wouldn't have to do videos anymore. We would just we could use Chat GPT to come up with a script, and then we could feed it into the AI voices, and then we're just done. We could just have an episode every day.
And that's what the people would want, so that's good.
Shade says on the capitalism side of things, Bandai showed off the Geats and Gotchard ride watch sounds to further convince you to give up all your money for your toy overlords. And yes, they do sound cool. I haven't 100% decided if I'm buying any more ride watches, but these do look cool and they do sound cool.
That's all that matters.
And then Shade moves on to say, now time for some announcements. They recently announced a Kamen Rider Geats special, Geats Extra Kamen Rider Gazer. That one's going to be on the TTFC, the Toei Tokusatsu fan club. The special will focus on Niram, the producer. Not sure if he'll be back or not, but I heard it's going to be a prequel. Or it's going to be like the Punk Jack special, and it's both a comeback and a prequel story. The special will also include a new variant of Gazer called Gazer Zero. I sent that trailer along to you. How do you feel about getting more of the producer for Kamen Rider Geats?
As long as they put a good story to it, I think I'd be okay with it. If he's just like the shady individual who gets gunned down again somehow.
I'm interested in like finding out more about him. Like I think if you're gonna pick a character out to do a prequel about, he's very interesting to me because yeah, like he was both good and bad. He had interesting elements. I think they could really do a Punk Jack where you make him a sympathetic figure or you make him at least interesting in his motivations that they currently don't do. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing that. That's one of the more exciting TTFC things that I have heard.
I appreciate that they let him eat more food during the
Yeah, he's
trailer.
just constantly eating. Yep, very on brand. And then Shade goes on to say, finally, the big news: the first Kamen Rider Gotchard special. It's called Kamen Rider Gotchard versus Kamen Rider Legend, and we got an English sub trailer. It's only 30 seconds long, so it's a little teaser. But what are your thoughts on Gotchard versus Legend?
I want to see the guy make himself pretty, or whatever the hell his catchphrase was. Make me handsome.
Glamorous, I think, right?
Yeah, they're fancy. We need fancy words.
Yeah, gotta get glamorous. Everyone, of course, pointed out that I think Shade goes on to say this here. Yeah, so Shade says, this is huge news. In case you guys couldn't tell, Kamen Rider Legends design is basically Kamen Rider Decade, but gold. He's not decayed, mind you, but from what we've seen in the trailer, he has the exact same powers, but with legendary rider Kemi cards instead of regular rider cards. Heck, even his logo and poster tagline is the same as Decade's. They're literally making a new Decade. I have a feeling this guy is going to be very important in the Kamen Rider future, so this is a must watch for sure. Yeah, so you haven't had too much experience with Kamen Rider Decade. Decade's in the trailer very briefly, actually, the pink rider in the background. But this guy does look a lot like him, and um, and honestly, really like in his human form, has some vague resemblance to Decade as well. But I love that design of Rider with the like vertical lines through the helmet. I've always thought that looked really cool. So it'll be interesting to see if the Decade tie-in is just visual or if they're like is a lineage storyline wise between the two of those. But Yeah, they seem to be making a new new decade, and calling him Kamen Rider Legend as well seems like he's important. That seems like an important name to assign to something.
Well, especially in like the way that the Common Rider verse kind of blends together, grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
It definitely makes them sound more important. Like when the Power Rangers used to have the See in Red episodes or whatever how they were called, where like all 30 Red Rangers would show up together.
Forever Red. Yeah,
There you go. Thank you. That that's what it was. But same vibe. We're like if we're calling him like the legend, I feel like that something big has to go down with that.
I agree. I agree. Shade says something else that is crazy about this. Kamen Rider Legend was leaked way back when Gotchard was first aired. There was fan art of Legend that was spread around the internet at the time, but turns out, nope, it was the concept art for the character. It wasn't fan art after all. The leaker somehow got their hands on the literal concept art of Kamen Rider Legend. And then Shade shows kind of a leaked image versus official. And yes, it's pretty much identical to what ended up being real. So yeah, I'm excited for that. That airs very soon. I think like November 5th. So and hopefully that should get subtitled pretty quickly, since the trailer got subtitled very, very quickly, and that'll just be on YouTube instead of the fan club, so even easier to get access to. So yeah, we should be able to watch that one right away.
It did seem like they were presenting it as a hey, catch this immediately versus hey, watch this in 6 months vibe. So
Yeah,
I
for
think you're
sure.
right.
Yeah, I think we should watch it in line as it comes out. All right, and that wraps up our emails. Thanks, Shade, for sending in that information. If anyone wants to send an email like Shade did, you can send those over to cast@commonwritersucks.com. And Toby, from there, let's jump into discussing Gotchard episode 7.
Let's do it.
We didn't miss anything.
The most random of episodes, the scariest one yet.
Yeah, it certainly opened with Smartphone. We talked about that. Both a great name and a terrible name for a phone, by the way, because it's good because it's just smartphone, but it's also awful to say out loud. But we have the academy group, the students, hanging out again, all 4 of them. I really like that they stick together, like they're out hunting chemis together. Very cool.
Is
They're
there
looking.
is there a name for like so if there's like a trio, obviously that's 3. Is there an easy name for a group of 4?
Quartet?
Is that what it would be?
Yeah, I think a trio and then a quartet would be 4.
Okay, let's start referring to them as the quartet then, please.
Okay,
let's make
the quartet. The quartet is out hunting Mechanicani, a mechanical chemi, and Hodoro decides he's going to go fishing for it. So he fishes up with his
so that's what he does
with his fishing pole. He brings the chemi up. Basically, Sabi Maru and Ringe wrap the chemi up, like they kind of like hold it, and then Hodoro blinds it with the flashbang, basically, and then captures it in a card. So then they all head back to the restaurant, Hodoro's restaurant, to celebrate their catch. But then they have a little argument about who gets credit for the catch. Hodoro thinks that everyone should share it, but Renge and Sabi Maru think they did it, and Kudo even points out that he used his Kamen Rider powers, which is kind of cheating.
So, not that it matters, and not that's going to be like a sticking point, but like it's weird that up until this point they didn't seem to care about the chemi stuff and would just trade each other or sell them to Hodoro and stuff. And now this episode, we're making a big deal about who actually catches them.
Who got him?
That seems silly to me.
I guess before they aren't pooling their chemis, right? Like so, like it was still like Renge was like, "These are my chemis I got." She traded some to Hodoro, but like it's not like they catch them and then just go throw them in a pile in the classroom where anyone can use them. So there is a little bit of ownership assigned to each of them for sure.
I guess, but if you're willing to give them away and trade them and stuff, I guess I don't see the logic of the extra possession.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it was mostly just some fun joking with each other.
Some lighthearted banter.
Yeah, exactly. And while this lighthearted banter is happening, a young boy enters the restaurant, Toby. A young boy named Riku. He has a cactus. He saw them earlier when they were catching the Kemi, and he decided that they could maybe take this cactus off of his hands. The cactus, of course, is a Kemi. He says he and his father found it, and his father has told him to throw it away, but he wants to give it to them instead.
Josh, did you know that there's also a young boy named Riku in the greatest game ever, Kingdom Hearts?
I did know that.
Good.
Unfortunately, I did know that.
So I finally got to you. So that's extra funny because they, as always, they talk about the door to darkness as well. So now we have Riku and the door to darkness.
Very true.
In this wonderful series.
Very true. So this boy, hilariously, he seems fine. He seems okay. He's like, "Hey, will you take this cactus?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." And then instantly, Hodoro is like, "Are you sure you want to give up this cactus?" And the boy's like, "Yeah, I do." And Hodoro is like, "No, but really, do you want to?" So Hodor instantly thinks the boy is having some emotions about the cactus and having given up. And then
he's
Kudo
projecting,
pulls.
some would say.
Yes, exactly. A little bit of projecting is how I took that. Kudo pulls him aside and, of course, reminds him that, "Yo, we're gonna have to wipe this brain. This kid can't keep this Kemi."
It's getting too real again. The brain wipes are getting too real again.
They're so real. And so as soon as Kudo's like, "We're gonna wipe the brain of this little kid because he found this cactus," it's like, whoa, take it down a notch, Kudo. I do feel like Hodoro's his reasoning for why humans should be able to live with Kemis is a little weak, because he explains to Kudo here, listen, only human malice is the thing that causes like the amalgams to form. This is a little kid. He's never there's gonna be no malice around him.
Like, he would never hate anybody.
Yeah, you can't know that for sure though. Like, it's still it's like saying, listen, this kid can take this gun home. He's never gonna shoot anybody. He's just a kid. But they're debating about it, and Renge decides to take matters into her own hands, basically, and she captures the Kemi onto a card.
like just matter of factly, just like, yep, it's mine now, just blast it.
I loved that. It was like, you're having this big discussion, and she's like, "No, I got this. It's cool." And then Riku runs off. He's out. Hodoro, of course, goes after him, thinking again, boy's gonna be distraught.
We
gotta go save him. He catches up. Okay, I guess we'll split up here a little bit, because we kind of cut back and forth a little bit. So we will continue the path here for now with Hodoro and the boy. He goes and finds the boy, and again, the boy's not really having that bad of a time. Hodoro really wants him to be, because he's like, "Listen, tell me how you're really feeling," and the boy's like, "You're kind of annoying. I'm studying."
Yeah, the little kid being the sassy younger sidekick for this one was overall very fun, because even when he's annoying him, Hodoro's like, "I'm the smartest dude there is. I can help you." And then he fails the kid's test, and he's like, "Yeah, idiot, I'm smart too. I told you this was hard."
Yeah, exactly. I like when the kid's giving him lip too. Hodoro just like at some point like looks to the side, like rolls his eyes, and he was like, "Holy crap!" Like he mouths like, "This kid."
He wasn't ready for that.
It was like a very real reaction. I thought that was very funny. Yeah, the kid definitely like is one upping Hodoro this whole time. It's like, this is challenging. Of course you're not gonna get it. Like, and Hodoro presents it as like, "Well, I went to grade school too. I know how this works.
You're just a stupid kid. I got this."
Yeah, you're a stupid kid with stupid kid problems, and I'm here to solve them because I am a high schooler. So they're having their little fight, and Hodoro finally decides that they're gonna play kick the can. So if
they brought it back.
Yeah, exactly, the grand tradition of Kamen Rider and can kicking. You loved it in Kamen Rider Geats. Well, here it is again in Gotchard.
At least it's a little more real now. Like, it's not like some weird dumb bullshit thing. It's literally just they put a can on the ground and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna kick this bad boy."
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's a common childhood thing. Like, it made sense to come up here. I also like had to really laugh really hard to be like, again with the can kicking.
They love it.
Someone over there in Kamen Rider headquarters loves kicking cans. So we'll pause there on their story where they're getting ready to kick a can. Also, meanwhile, we
On
have
the
a
other
little
side,
on the other side. We have a little scene where first Hodoro's mom is wanting some errands to be run. So Ringe and Kudo decide to do those errands for her. First, Kudo offers, and then Ringe basically steps in and says, "You're paying, then I'm going to," which is very funny. And then we meet our sisters, our abyssal sisters, and they're hanging out in a church, as you do.
I think using the church is like a good spooky drama vibe because it always add. I feel like the stained glass and everything makes it seem more important, and especially when there's like evil in the church, it just seems like it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, I agree. I loved the church setting here. Um, I loved later as well. So that they have a little sort of like back and forth about like why are our amalgams sucking so bad, and then they do a little like teasing for the future. Come to find out, the teasing is that one of the sisters has like her eye on the person she's gonna make the next amalgam, and I loved that she like appears before him as a nun. She's just dressed up as a nun. Not something that I don't think you could ever pull off in a kids show in America, but I love that we get that spooky vibe because it was like she was extra creepy dressed up as a nun, and she just stays in that outfit for the rest of the show, which was so fun. We don't really know much about the guy that she's fusing with Akemi. Like he's praying kind of in the church, and she like takes advantage of his malice at that point.
The
Uh,
evilness inside the church people, as we know.
yeah, yeah. I guess that does track. Yeah. So yeah, that's where our amalgam is created. And then we cut back to the park. Kicking the can is about to happen, and right as the can is about to get kicked, basically it gets shot. It's a bullet hole.
Which was awesome because it was
Goes
actually
straight through
like
the can.
again like it's real. It's more real than the Goofy Geats games and stuff. It was like okay, like it's just a plain ass can. There's no magic. It's just a plain ass can.
Yeah, the realness of it all was very apparent for the rest of this episode. So like, essentially, Hodoro and this boy are like under like a live fire situation, right? Like someone is shooting at them. There's a sniper they can't find. Um,
And
it
like
was
it all
very,
looked, the visuals looked awesome because they did very good like squibs out of the trees or off the
yeah,
ground, where it actually looked like they were shooting at children basically.
that was impressive. Yeah, I was actually surprised that they didn't just do like silly lasers or something. Like they actually did the squibs, like you said. Like it actually looked like shots were happening. Every time they'd fire, Hodoro would like do a great job of being like, oh, like dodging and acting like he almost got shot. Um, it was actually like it was pretty tense. Like they did a really good job, and because this was a two-parter, they were able to give some of those scenes like actually the whole episode really felt like it had room to breathe. You like
More so
were
than usual,
able,
yeah.
yeah, you were able to linger in some scenes and get a little bit more context. Like they normally wouldn't have given Riku that long when he's basically telling Hodoro he's annoying. Like they gave him a lot of room there to show his personality. And same here, I think they gave it a lot of room to amp up the um how scared they were that they're just getting shot at here. Um and then he does a thing which I loved. So Hodoro is a Kamen Rider, obviously, has a lot of power, but he's trying to protect this kid. He doesn't know what he's up against. He doesn't know where the shots are coming from, even. So he calls back to the academy to ask for help and ask for like an ID on the chemi, the amalgam that's fighting them. And I just thought that was like so freaking cool that like he's like phoning home to
Someone
call for
please help.
support. Yeah. First he calls Sabi Maru, and Sabi Maru, he can't hear him because he talks too quietly. The dude's iPad translator dies, so he can't speak up louder. So Spanner gets on the phone, which
The
Hodoro
boss.
not very excited about, but Spanner is there and he's ready to help. And Hodoro basically tells him, "Hey, that like I've got fighting this amalgam. He's shooting spikes. Like, can you figure out who this guy is? What he's doing? I need to figure out where he's shooting from." And yeah, they find out that he is a like a dragonfly, basically.
which
So
was hard to read in the costume when you first saw the costume.
I
I would
could
have
not figure it out. Yeah.
I would have had no idea other than the fact that they told me.
Yeah, I definitely was pretty lost as to what we were doing there. Um, but once they explained, like it made some sense. And it looks cool. But the only thing that I could notice when he first transformed was it looked like he had a crazy pompadour hair situation. Which I still am not sure if they were trying to make it look like a pompadour or if that was like a larva or something. I don't know really know what was going on top of his head, but it looked like a pompadour.
Like other than like possibly like the butt of a dragonfly, I really don't know what else it would be. Like
Yeah, I
somehow like
guess it
his
could be
tail
that.
wrapped
Yeah,
around to his head or up to his head or what do you want to call it.
that could make sense. Yeah. But yeah, so the realization there is that he's a dragonfly. He's shooting from above, so Hotaro is able to look up and actually see the dragonfly. Um, and then in what is a crazy scene, he takes a shot right to the heart. Just a full on, he's not transformed. He takes a stabbing blow right to the heart. But luckily, Toby, Hopper 1 was there to take the bullet for him.
I actually thought Hopper died.
Me
And I
too.
got real sad for a second. And then it was pretty much like, oh shit, he actually got shot, into, oh shit, it looked like the dagger thing went through Hopper, to he just like wiped the stabby thing off of Hopper. And he's like, thanks, buddy. And Hopper just goes, Hopper. And it was fine. So
Yeah. So strange. So strange. But it was cool that Hopper protected him. But yeah, there was no stakes for Hopper there. He was like, yeah, it's all good. I'm fine. Um, Also, other stuff that's happening at the same time. Of course, we mentioned the shopping trip that was happening. So they head to go do their little shopping trip. Kudo and uh, Ringe, and they end up like stopping in for like some tea at like a bakery or something. And the revelation here, Toby, is that Kudo doesn't know how to order at a restaurant.
I get overwhelmed sometimes too when they're like, you can get this, this, or this. But it was funny, like they had a good, other than like Japanese media graphic, I don't know what else to call it, but they showed like a weird text graphic of Kudo's brain overloading with too many options. It was kind of funny. Like
It was really good, actually. Yeah, they do a good job of like the graphics in the show whenever they do the alchemy and stuff. This was like it was like an alchemy graphic, but about her options at the cafe, which was really really good. And it was the spiel that you always get at places like that, where it is just overwhelming. Where it's just like, well, we can have this or this, and you can have this if you get this. Well, you can upgrade it to this. We always offer these. Like,
if you want a big size, you go right ahead.
exactly. I wonder where they're going with this though, because I don't think that they're gonna get like a nuanced like description of anxiety. I think there's more to it. There's probably some like reveal they're gonna do, but I don't know what that could possibly be. Like she tries to explain it of like, oh, I don't hang out after school with very many people, so I've never ordered because of that. um, I'm wondering what her whole home life is now, because her dad is a traitor and probably dead. We know that.
Well,
She's
I'll
still in
assume she doesn't
school.
have one. She probably just stays at home. She probably goes to school and goes home and just watches the house or something.
But does she have a mom? She's never mentioned her mom. That's what I want to know. Like, is she living at home alone?
I'm going to say yes. And that's why she enjoys being with Hotaro's mom when she goes to the diner.
Oh, that would be cute. I like that. Okay.
Well, then good. Then they don't have to date. They can be like the brother or
Brother,
sister
sister.
Neon Geats vibe. And they can be like, no, like my mom's cool. And then when they figure out who Hotaro's dad is, they can have their own little like new quote unquote family or real family. Like, I'm not trying to.
That's adorable. I like that. Okay. That's good.
That's my new happy prediction for the end of the show.
Also, this episode, no love triangle stuff.
Yep. See, I'm back in.
Yeah. We had the quartet. They were hanging out. Spanner didn't run across them. We didn't have to have any sort of triangle thing. We didn't have the trio. We just had the quartet.
A little better. A little better.
Yeah. And I liked that. I did like the Hotaro was forced to get help from Spanner, but I like that Kudo didn't come up in that help. It was unrelated to her, which was very nice.
They're learning.
Uh,
They're adapting.
they are. But then to wrap this up here, so Hodoro gets shot. He realizes the dragonfly is up in the air. He's got to go take him out. He henshins, and he needs to get up in the air to go fight the Malgum. So in order to do that, he uses Hawkstar and Sabo Needle, and that turns him into this guy who looks like a cactus. Basically, he's it's a very cool look. He's got like spiky arm plates. He's very pointy. He's like yellow and green. I think it's a
He,
cool look.
I thought the visual was awesome. He reminds me of like Tommy's OG Green Ranger costume, just with spikes and a little bit brighter, or like
I'll buy
Tommy
it.
with Tommy with like Dragonzord parts on him, kind of thing. Like it's
Yeah,
like a cool like throwback, but he looks awesome. It's one of my favorite like new combos.
I agree. Yeah, I think that of the combos we've seen in the show that have been not wild forms, the actual like transformations. Um, I think this is my favorite. I like it a lot. I think it looks very, very cool. There's a lot. It's not just like we made the helmet look different. They really did a lot with the whole costume, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the better. It's better than like the Minnie Mouse mushroom one.
So much better. Oh my gosh. He uses this new combo to fly up in the air and go after the dragonfly. However, as he gets in the air, and this leads us to our cliffhanger, something goes wrong, I guess, with Sabo Needle.
He bails out of the driver.
Yeah, he shunts himself out of the like locked in phase, and like the card's done. He pops out. He's over it, and Hodoro like dehensions and just starts falling to earth. He's a long way up. And
the visual the visual looks bad, but the vibe is there.
The visual I don't think looked as bad as like every time we saw that floating platform in Geats.
That's fair.
Like it was better than that, and we saw that every episode. I think in general, I think that the CG in Gotchard has been a lot better than Geats, I will say.
Yeah, I feel like there's more money in this one somehow.
It feels like it, like because we're seeing a lot of CG. Like every one of these stupid chemis is CG, but they're not realistic, but they're palatable.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, I'm not like upset at any of them looking poor. Which in Geats, some of those things were like, really, you thought this was okay? You thought you did a good day's work on this? This was it? But yeah, that's our cliffhanger for really the first two-parter that Gotchard has done.
Yeah, there's at least like stakes to it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so you're into this episode so far?
Yeah, especially there was no trio bullshit.
Yeah,
So I feel like that makes it better.
I knew as soon as I finished this that you would like that aspect of it. Yeah, I like Riku. I like the boy. We're obviously gonna find out in episode 2 here, the second part of this arc, that the boy really did love Sabo Needle and blah blah blah. I'm sure is all gonna come up, but I love what we have so far of him, just being like, "You're annoying. Leave me alone. I'm trying to study." It's such a good characterization of a little kid. It's so perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, lots of good character interactions here. I like that we got some alone time with Renge and Kudo. I like that Spanner had to help out on the phone. And Hodoro's in peril. That's always fun too.
Got some stakes.
Yep, got some stakes indeed. All right, well, that was a fun episode. Yeah, I continue to be, I guess, happy, enthused about Gotchard. It continues to be fun, and yeah, they're ramping up. Like especially with like a two-parter here and stuff. Like they're doing more complicated stories that I kind of didn't think we'd get. I thought it would be more of like a Monster of the Week series for a while. So very cool, very exciting. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us. So, Toby, why don't you tell the people where they can find you on the internet?
On Twitter, it's at Life of Tobes, and on YouTube, it's Tobes Plays.
All right, yeah, I am pretty much everywhere at Pretty Dece Josh. You can find me on Twitter and Threads and Tumblr, all the places like that. And on YouTube, it is Pretty Dece, youtube.com/Pretty Dece. All right. So that's going to do it for us. If you want to send us in an email like Shade did this week, send those over to cast@kamenridersucks.com. Also, we have a Patreon. We would love for you to check that out. For just $3 a month, you get access to a ton of bonus content that comes out every single week, and you get all of our back history of everything we've put out so far as well. You get access to our Watch and React series, where you watch an episode of Kamen Rider along with us. You get to hear us talk over it, hear our jokes, basically Mystery Science Theater, but for Kamen Rider. We are working through X-Aid right now. We're getting close to the second movie, which we'll watch that as well. So that's very fun and exciting. We finished all of Black Sun as well. If you want to check that out and what our thoughts of that are, join up. Patreon, $3 a month. You also get access to our Discord, where you can talk about all the Kamen Rider news as it happens. We can discuss that. It's always fun to hang out there. So give that a little check. There are links in the description of this, or just check out patreon.com/thecommentriders. All right, folks. Well, again, thanks very much for listening. Glad you joined us here for this episode. Please come back for the next one. We will talk about the big finale of this 2-part episode. That will be episode 8. But in the meantime, have a great week, everybody. Peace.